everyone, welcome to Lauren's Scrap Lot. My name is Lauren Urbonas and I am happy to welcome you to my weekly Show Me How It's Done series. If you haven't joined us before, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because I have over 200 other videos for you to check out, including one that partners with this week's video to show you how to use the extraordinary Flora washi tape. So this week I am combining 3 different bundles in order to show you how to make a beautiful easel card. So this card can be popped up and displayed on somebody's desk or nightstand. Of course, it does fold flat then for shipping as well. So if you'd like to follow along with me, I'm going to walk you through how to build this card. I have listed all the supplies and the measurements in the description, so make sure to check that out. And if you're watching this live, or at least, during the week that I have showed it and viewed it, we have free shipping coming up from July 23rd to 25th, so that's 3 days only. And if you're missing any of the pieces to make this card, you can go to my website at the bottom, laurenurbonas.stampinup.net, and take advantage of that savings. So of course I am in Canada, and anybody who shops with me does get a kit of 3 cards if your order is over $40 before shipping and GST. But of course, if you're not having to pay shipping, you are saving even more money. So check that sale out. You can add anything from what I'm showing you or anything from your wish list as well. Let's get going. So here's the card. I've done it in 2 versions. There is strawberry / little flowers and petunia pot flowers. Because I started with the extraordinary Flora bundle, I didn't use any of the stamp sets from this bundle or this large sentiment, but I am using this die here. This is an all-in-one die that can be used both for the photopolymer stamp set and for the coordinating washi tape. Now this washi tape comes in 2 different color schemes. There's the petunia pop section, and then if you keep unraveling, there's strawberry slush, and it does alternate all over the place. Just to give you a heads up, I'm still on roll number 1, and I prep about 50 kits a month to send out to people who come to my classes in person or anybody in Canada who places an order online. And I still have some pieces still here. I would say I could probably get another 5 to 10 cards out of this one roll. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. It does go a long way. Now, before I show you exactly how to put that card together, I'm just going to let you know this was my card from last week. We did a kind of wedding or thinking of you card. We used some of our flowers from one of the washi tape sets. And then I'm going to use the rest of the flowers from just one pass through the cut and emboss machine on this project here. So that's the flowers. I'm going to also highlight where I've gotten the other parts of the card from. So this frame here, you can either cut that out, of course, with your trimmer. You'll just have to be a little bit more particular on the measurements. Or if you want to make your life easy, the Gallery Blooms bundle, so I'm not using any of the flowers on this one, but it comes with this amazing frame. Now this frame cuts out not 1, but 2 frames and leaves you a solid rectangle to use on a project later, all with a really nice border. So I'm using the largest of the frames. I have used the smallest one in the past, and you can go back and look through my inventory for that one, but it's a great way to maximize your time because with one pass through the machine, I was able to get 2 frames and 1 sentiment rectangle. So that's where I got my frame from. We had layering rectangles in the past, so you could also use those on this project. And then last but not least, my sentiments. So we've got the word bloom on the front, which looks a little different until you pop it up and it says bloom where you're planted. So the bloom comes from this Sweet Blooms bundle right there, and so does the where you're planted. So what I've done with where you're planted, I've just stamped it onto a little strip of basic beige. The bloom, you have 2 different options. So you can either cut out the shadow and the silhouette of the word bloom in 2 different colors and just glue those 2 together, or you can also stamp the word bloom like I did and then cut it out using the shadow die. So I think I misplaced mine, there we go, but it's very, very easy to do. If you wanted it to stand out a little bit more, those 2 layers of cardstock might be the best idea, but I'm happy with this version as well. So I'm just combining a few different things for this card. If you don't own anything for the project, that's okay too. Maybe you just like the fold itself and you can replicate that using something that you already own. So let's craft together. I think I will leave this right here so you can kind of see what we're doing, and we'll begin. So to start, we're going to grab a piece of Secret Sea cardstock. This is 3 3/4 by 11, and I've done 2 score marks, one at 2 3/4 and one at 5 1/2. So that's what you'll need to start on this. I do think I need to put you down so the camera decides to focus on what I'm doing. And we're going to do a little bit of folding of this piece. So first thing to do is we're going to fold it right in half. That will leave you 2 equal portions, one with a large rectangle section and the other with those 2 panels that we had put the score mark right in between. So then the next step is going to be to make a mountain peak. Okay, so I'm folding that all the way backwards, but then when you're looking at it from the front of your card, it should look like a little pop-up tent and some grass ahead of it and a mountain. This is what you need. That's going to be the anchor, or the beginning, I should say, of, it's right here, of our easel. Okay. Now, we're going to start with the inside of the card just because that's usually what I like to work on first and just get it out of the way. So I'm going to open this card up and we're going to attach in the middle a piece of basic beige, just so you have something to write on and also something to mount this little stand on. So the basic beige is going to be 3 1/4 by 5 inches. It does show a nice thick border this time for us. And you can put any sort of flat adhesive on that part. You're going to put seal, tape, or glue. It's completely up to you. Yeah. Okay, now I am going to decorate the inside of this card because we might as well. So as I mentioned, I had all of these flowers left over from my project last week. So one passed through the cut and emboss and I was left with these guys. I'm going to look for this large rose right there. So this rose here, I'm just going to put a flat adhesive. I could do dimensionals actually if I really wanted to, but I'm quite happy with the flat adhesive. And it's going to go in the bottom right hand section of my card. Now I have an ulterior motive. It's not just decorative, but by putting this down in the bottom section, I've almost measured for myself the right amount of angle that I need for my easel. Because if I put this down too far, then the card can kind of wilts. It looks like it's really boring and it's wilting. So you want it popped out, but you don't want it popped up too much, otherwise it looks awkward. Okay, so I've kind of cheated. I've pre-measured that for you. It's about 1 1/4 inches from the bottom. And I'm going to leave my flower there and work towards adding a couple strips for my card to pop up now. So the first strip, that's the vital one, is a piece of Secret Sea, or whatever color you've matched your base to. It will be 3/4 inch by 3 3/4. And I'm popping this one up on dimensionals. This is really important. You cannot do this card without popping this piece up. Otherwise, the piece here won't have anything to butt up against. It will just fall down and you'll be really, really sad. So we're going to pop this up on dimensionals. And we're going to rest it from side to side cover this whole length just above that flower. Happy with that. The next piece that we're going to add is our sentiment. So you can do this at the same time as stamping and cutting the word bloom if you want. But we're going to cut a piece of basic beige that's 1/2 inch by 3.5. So it will be the same width as the beige that's underneath, but 1/2 inch is perfect for what I'm looking for. All I want it to say is where you're planted, and I think it's a very, very fun little card. So Secret Sea ink is what I'm using. It's going to match the cardstock base underneath it, and it will just fit this little sentiment. So if you're using something smaller like thank you or happy birthday, you won't have an issue, but you have to be very careful with this one because it is very precise. Now the where you're planted, we're putting on flat. So you can use either tape or glue, whatever you prefer, but we're going to put that one on flat. When you're lining it up, it does have a bit thicker of borders on the left and right than we're probably used to, because I did make those a little larger. I need to line up to the edge of my basic beige. So just pretend you can see where that is kind of through your strip. That's where you're going to line this up all the way across. There you go. Where you're planted. Now for the front of the card, we're going to close this one up for a second here. And I'm going to put adhesive only on this bottom portion of the card. Now I'm going to use tape. So if you actually still need to cut and emboss a piece of paper, don't use glue. I'm just getting this ready for us so that we're ready for the next step. Okay, so close that up. The next piece that you need is another piece of Secret Sea or whatever card base you've used. It will measure 3 3/4 by 5.5, which, I haven't taken the adhesive off, is the exact same size as what this card front is, okay? The key, though, is that we're not attaching it to both sides. We want it to be able to be free and malleable on the top. We're only putting adhesive on the bottom of this piece. So 3 3/4 by 5.5. And to add a little bit of detail, I did bring in one of our new 3D embossing folders. I believe it's called the Kintsugi Impressions embossing folder. And I'm going to be playing with this at my August club for those of you who are interested, because I've had lots of requests for that suite to be displayed. So keep watching, there's lots of videos. So both sides look beautiful. It's completely up to you which side you want to display, but we're going to take our adhesive off of the bottom part of our card, tuck in that extra piece that came off the edge, and we're going to match this piece now to fit on this entire section. I find it easier to turn over and match to the folded line. That way, if there's any mistakes, it's the bottom of the card that's a little off, and people tend not to focus on that section as much. They'll be focused on the top of your card. So just make sure this is perfectly lined up, and then you can connect that bottom panel. Here we go. So this is what it should do, because we've only attached half of it. It should pop open like so. So far, so good. It will pop up, but it's not as sturdy as it needs to be. So we're going to add some reinforcements with a frame. So this frame was basic beige, and again, I just used the largest of those Gallery Blooms dies. You need dimensionals all the way around the perimeter of this frame. And I would be generous. Make sure you're doing not only the corners, but maybe those in-pass lines as well. So you do want this not to look like it's sagging in any position. If you had the black dimensionals on hand, it might be a nice time to use those because the black would mesh very nicely with Secret Sea, but I didn't think about that till right now, so I'm okay with the white. It's all right. Now this frame will hardly have any border at all. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're putting it onto your card front. There's a very, very tiny border. That's it. So again, just put everything down gently so that you can lift up if you kind of feel like it's off. I'm going to do it this way. Always trickier to do things in front. There we go. I think that's pretty good. There's my little frame. Now I have all of these other flowers to bring into place along with that word bloom. So I think I'm going to do the word last. I'm going to work on these 2 flower clusters because it's easy to tilt the word kind of to fit in my space, but the flowers definitely need their room. So I'm going to focus first on these 2 kind of identical flowers. One is bigger, one is smaller. And again, you guys, this is your card. You can do whatever you want with it, but I'm just making suggestions of where I've started. So I'm going to use that large flower. I'm actually going to put my dimensionals on the frame itself, because that way I know they're hitting the right spot. They're not going to kind of fall into this empty void and tilt my flower on me. So either way, I need to pop you up a little bit. There we go. So we're going to add this flower to the very bottom part. And then we've got a couple features too. So maybe I'll switch this one here. This was the purple posy version. I'm working on strawberry slush right now, and you can see the leaves are slightly different colors. So, but same idea. They're all the same size. So if you're doing the purple posy one, hopefully it'll be easy too. And there's photos up as well if you need to refer to those. So 1 dimensional on the back is more than enough. We're just going to tuck this guy in behind the frame. And then this last little guy down here as well with 1 dimensional. Love how strong our dimensionals are. You don't need to cover an image with them. 1 is more than enough for these small little features. Okay, and then up in the top, we're going to do pretty much the same thing, starting with this little flower and putting the dimensionals onto the frame where it will rest. And we've got the roses. So I'm going to put a dimensional behind those. Tuck that under the one side. And some leaves. Tucked under the next side. And then I did end up with this 1 piece left, and I felt really bad for him, so I'm going to use it anyways. This one, to give myself a little bit of more depth, I'm putting this one down with glue because I wanted it to look like I kind of had 3 layers of flowers instead. So it does look pretty just with this cluster, but I felt bad for this 1 little leaf that was left over. So we're going to tuck him in, make him feel included. There we go. Now we're on to the word bloom. So you have 2 options here. One is just to put mini dimensionals underneath, kind of the center point of this in 1 layer. Then the bloom will be at the same height as your frame and those 2 focal flowers. But you and I both know that we want to give people that wow factor. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to stack some dimensionals too high, and that's going to give us even more of a pop. So you have to put 1 dimensional on first, take the backing off, and then put 1 more dimensional on top of it. So I'm putting these under definitely both of the O's. It will take a minute here. Definitely both of the O's. I'm going to put it on the back of the L because these mini dimensionals can fit perfectly under there. 1. Two. Now you can also put them on the bee, but it has to be the very top of the bee instead of the body. If you look here, the bottom of the bee touches the frame. If you want to double stack your dimensionals, it has to be under this tip, the loop up at the top. That will give you some more stability, but again, does have to be stacked out of your way. Now the M is going to be a little tricky if you want to put some dimensionals under there, under this midpoint. You're going to have to just come to the edge of your dimensional sheet and just cut one of those mini dimensionals in half. Or you can, of course, use the frame pieces as well, but we've got one piece cut in half and it can go under the center of the M. Do keep in mind everything else is pretty sturdy at this point, so if you don't want that finicky work, you don't have to do this step. There we go. Now it's ready for you to mount. It can go on your card, either straight across or at the angle that I did, because I thought this was kind of cute, and these pieces will just barely fit in that section at an angle. Make sure everything's attached because we've had lots of fun with them. And there's your card. Pops up on the easel and it's ready to gift. You can write in this little section up at the top because nobody's going to be worried about that. Or if you really don't want to write on that section, of course, you could cut yourself another piece of basic beige just for the back, and that would be just fine as well. So here's the strawberry slush version. Here's the petunia pop. You guys maybe leave a comment below. Let me know which one's your favorite. I'm curious. We'll take a little poll. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys do tune in every Tuesday for an edition of Show Me How It's Done. And until the end of July, I'm still part of the Great North American Stamping Show Season 5. We're going to take a little bit of a break in August. We might do a couple videos, but we'll pick up Season 6 in September as well. So those videos pop on every Thursday evening, but if your notifications are on, then you'll be notified every time a new video comes. And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying them. Happy crafting, happy summer. See you guys later.